We're used to most high-end weapons coming from the US, but there's one area where even America falls behind. Not to China, Britain, or Russia, but Sweden. We're talking about self-propelled howitzers, and not just any howitzer, one of the best wheeled artillery systems in the world. Now, it's proving its worth on the battlefield in Ukraine. This is one of the best self-propelled artillery pieces out there.
Yeah, baby, yeah!
So what makes Sweden's creation stand out, and how is it performing on the front lines? Archer didn't have the smoothest ride to the battlefield. It all kicked off in 1995, but things moved at a Swedish pace, steady and measured. After a few years of tinkering, it wasn't until 2003 that Sweden's defense procurement agency finally shook hands with Bofors to develop 2 prototypes. Fast forward to 2023, and Sweden has 48 Archers, 24 in action, and another 24 chilling in storage, waiting for a one-way ticket to Norway. But fate had other plans. Instead of heading north, 8 of them were sent to Ukraine, where this beast finally got to do what it was born for.
It is one of 8 Archer systems delivered to Ukraine by Sweden, and it has finally arrived for the first real battle test in the harsh conditions of eastern Ukraine.
So what makes this howitzer so unique? First off, Archer is the undisputed king of rapid deployment. In just 30 seconds, we set up, fire, and in another 30 seconds, we're packed up and moving again. Imagine a 30-ton machine that can stop anywhere, fire off rounds, and be gone in under a minute. A nightmare for the enemy. Catch me if you can. Second, it's all about automation. Archer was designed to be the world's first fully automated artillery system. The crew is only involved in reloading. Once we load up the rounds, we head out and the machine does everything else by itself. We don't step out. While moving, we get targeting data. As we approach the firing position, we input the target, and within 10 seconds of arrival, we deploy. Another 5 seconds to adjust, and we're ready to fire. At this rate, the next-gen Archer might not even need people, except for refueling. And third, the crew stays safe inside the armored cab, even in the heat of battle. The crew never has to leave the armored cabin. The shells are preloaded into a magazine, just like bullets in a rifle. On top of that, sometimes you need to hit a target instantly before the enemy can react. That's where Archer shines. Archer isn't just fast, it's smart. It has a built-in function that lets it fire 4 shells along different trajectories, but they all hit the target at the exact same moment. With this software, we can program it so all 4 rounds fly different paths but land at the same time. That kind of precision puts Archer ahead of most self-propelled howitzers in the world. It's setting the standard for modern artillery. Its predecessor? The legendary Paladin. These 2 machines serve different roles, but they have some similarities, like crew safety. Paladin's armor keeps its crew protected from incoming fire, and the M109 is well known for being one of the most comfortable artillery systems, with heating and air conditioning inside for long missions. But in the end, they're built for different tasks. Paladin is all about raw firepower, while Archer is a surgical tool for precision strikes. There were days we barely had time to reload before going right back into action. What's the most you fired in a day? My personal record? 192 rounds. Another big difference, the Paladin is tracked, while Archer runs on wheels. That changes how they're used in combat. And here's a twist, Archer might soon replace the M109 in the US Army.
What?
For years, the Army has been looking for a replacement for the M109, which has been in service since 1963. Their last attempt, the XM1299 from the Urka project, didn't work out. So they started searching for ready-made alternatives. Now, Archer, a howitzer nobody was paying attention to just a few years ago, is suddenly a top contender, the ultimate underdog story. And unlike the competition, it has a real combat experience. That's gotta be worth a like, right? But even Archer has run into some challenges in Ukraine. And it's not about the machine itself, it's about the people. Training to operate it is seriously tough. We trained in Sweden for 2 months. No days off. It was intense, but we had great instructors and translators. We got lucky with the team. Wake up at 6 a.m., breakfast at 7, then training, camouflage, driving, firing, maintenance. What they taught us in a month and a half normally takes 6 to 10 months. On the one hand, This means Ukraine now has some highly trained artillery crews, but on the other hand, there aren't many of them. If even one team is down due to illness or reassignment, it can affect missions. The same goes for maintenance. The fewer people who know how to service Archer, the harder it is to keep it operational. But the long-term upkeep is still a question mark.
Специфічна машина.
It's a tricky system. You have to understand it. You can't just... Before the gun commander could finish, a new target came in, and it had to be something big, because Archer has been firing less due to ammunition shortages. Since its specialty is taking out enemy artillery, this target was definitely worth the shot. So, how bad is the ammo situation? It's critical. There aren't enough shells. And if Western aid continues at this pace, how much longer can Archer stay in action? There's plenty of work for Archer, but in terms of firing, we're running low. So you're firing less? Yeah, we're prioritizing only the most important targets now. The Archer takes out an enemy gun and moves to a new position. By the time the shell reaches its target, the Swedish howitzer is already on the road, maybe even getting confirmation of the hit from a safer spot. And let's be real, it never misses. But Ukraine isn't relying on Archer alone. If you want to see how Ukrainians are using Western weapons against Russia, make sure to subscribe. Speaking of heavy hitters, Ukraine is working on its own Archer-style howitzer. Meet the Bodana, another self-propelled system making an impact on the front lines.
Все у Богдана непогана установка.
Bodana is a decent howitzer, but this one is just on another level. If you were firing from, I don't know, a 2S1 or Bodana, would it be harder to hit the target compared to Mista B? Nah, this gun has better range. Depending on the type of shell, it shoots farther. When it comes to range, Archer has the advantage. It fires about 6 miles farther than Bodana, which makes a big difference in artillery duels. And accuracy, that's where Archer truly shines. We've called Archer a surgical tool, while Bodana is more like a sledgehammer.
Похибка відбувається
Usually, it hits the target with the second shot. The first one can be slightly off if the barrel isn't warmed up, but once it is, the gun fires consistently and accurately. But here's where Bodana has the edge: production numbers. Sweden only built 48 Archers, while Ukraine is now rolling out 20 Bodanas per month. That's a huge advantage in a war where Ukraine needs firepower across an extended front line.
Приємно. Дуже приємно.
It's great to see our country finally producing weapons at this level. This gives us what we need to fight properly. Chances are, these two howitzers are working side by side in Ukraine's 45th Artillery Brigade, where the Archers were deployed. This brigade has come a long way since 2022. Before Archer, the 45th was the only brigade operating the massive 2S7 Peon, a 203mm monster with a range of 29 miles.
один снаряд приблизно 110 кг.
Each shell weighs around 240 pounds. Cluster shells are slightly lighter. Now, Archer is taking over the same counter-battery role.
Цілі всі виявляються за допомогою.
Our job is counter-battery fire. We locate enemy artillery positions using drones, then take them out. Outdated equipment and ammo shortages forced the 45th to modernize. And now Archer is handling the brigade's toughest missions. I think they're not particularly happy about it. So, what can Russia throw at Archer? Their Peon, or the Mista S, Russia's most common self-propelled howitzer. These two have faced off many times in Donbas, but it's never been a fair fight.
Якщо взяти танк Т-70...
Take a T-72 tank, slap a big gun on it, and you get this: Russia's self-propelled howitzer. Its maximum range is just 15.5 miles, not even close to Archer's, making Mista an easy target. Take this May 2024 encounter. It was Mista's last ride. And here's another perfect Archer target: 3 Soviet-era D-20 howitzers lined up like bowling pins. A job for Archer's automated fire control system: 3 shells, 3 direct hits. A few minutes later, Russia's losses just went up again. Once Archer has its sights on a target, the hit probability is nearly 100%. So, what do we take away from this? Archer outperforms most self-propelled howitzers in range, speed, mobility, and automation. It's easily one of the best, if not the best, artillery pieces in the world. Its only weakness? Production numbers. With just 48 in existence, Archer isn't ready to become a global artillery powerhouse, but we'll be watching its future closely, and making more videos about it, of course. Now, what do you think? Which howitzer could surpass Archer in the future? Mista? Hodana? Maybe the German RCH-155, which we'll be covering in an upcoming video. Drop your pick in the comments.